I mean, if we had chosen the topic, then I could have started out by just yelling out my thoughts.
Just yell at a topic. 1, 2, 3, go.
But Mo, bring up our list. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we should introduce our guest star host today. I'm Kelly. I'm coming to you from Spokanistan, and
Yes, Melissa and Wayne and Zolani from Los Angeles.
Yay.
Yay.
So
Hey,
fast.
aren't you having a birthday too soon?
Yesterday.
oh, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm officially part of the 40 Club, and it feels great to be here.
You're a
Wow.
9/11 baby.
I am. I am.
Baby.
Yeah, baby.
Mama's a baby.
All right, I found it.
I mean, Mo, how much would our earlier conversation overlap with this podcast?
I think it would overlap really nicely.
I do too.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
What from your thing today?
Mhm.
What were you guys talking about?
So we
Mo did
had,
a presentation today.
yeah, I presented on entitlement around sex, obligation around sex, rape culture, and how all of those kind of are tied in together.
Okay.
I think that's great, especially when we're talking about ethical non-monogamy, because it's not only about sex; it's about just different types of intimacy and relationships. But one of the parts is physical.
Yeah, I'm sharing it. Can you see it?
Yes.
I love that.
And kind of parallels our last conversation around time, right? I forgot what you were calling it, Kelly. Time something.
Oh my gosh, that's been a minute.
Anyway, but
yeah, she was
on how on like how our partners are spending their time, and what.
Oh, was I talking about a time budget? Not a time budget. I can't remember.
Anyway, yeah.
You were talking about it was called ownership of time.
Ownership of time. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a good follow-up because talking about ownership of time, and now we're talking about ownership of body or rights to a body.
Yeah.
So this sounds like a good follow-up to that one.
Yeah. Does someone want to talk about what sexual entitlement is?
That sounds like something great for you to talk about, Mo.
Well, I'm happy to read your work.
Right. I can't even believe that you threw that out to us like that. Like you're
It was a soft pitch.
Okay. I will read it. I want to be very clear that this is Mo. I can't take credit for this, but
this isn't even me. This is I can't take credit for it.
Oh, you can. Okay, so I'll read a definition of sexual entitlement.
Yeah.
The belief held by one partner that they have an inherent right to their partner's body and sexual availability within the context of their relationship or marriage. This entitlement often leads to the expectation of a sexual intimacy, at times without consideration for their partner's desires, boundaries, or consent. This belief can manifest subtly in nonviolent ways that may go unnoticed, yet it can profoundly and negatively affect the dynamics of the relationship and the emotional well being of all individuals involved. Sexual entitlement manifests in various forms, ranging from overt demands for sex to subtler expressions such as pouting, sulking, or emotional withdrawal when one's sexual desires aren't met according to their preferences and timing. While these behaviors may not involve overt sexual violence by physical force, they create a coercive atmosphere where one partner feels pressured to engage in sexual activity to maintain harmony or avoid emotional distress. This phenomenon is prevalent across diverse relationship dynamics, but it can be particularly pronounced in cisgender straight relationships. Oftentimes presenting as male sexual entitlement, though women can display this behavior as well. In many cases, societal expectations place pressure on individuals within these relationships, framing sex as an expected duty rather than a mutual expression of desire. The societal narrative can lead to harmful belief that withholding sex equates to failure or disappointment within the relationship.
Yeah, and I just want to credit that to Modern Intimacy. The author is Elena Bahar, LMFT.
Thank you, Mo.
That was
Yes.
a great intro, yeah.
So, what we were talking about today was how this shows up in, well, Kelly brought this up, how, because a lot of times in our work, we work with partners that have disparaging, just different sexual desires. And how can this be related to our clients when we talk about that? And I think we can take it to the next level and include non-monogamy in there, because I think that a lot of our clients and a lot of people that we, come into contact with around non-monogamy, they will certainly, I think, I feel like they will use non-monogamy as a way to circumvent this like loss of desire that happens in relationships, which I think is perfectly normal and fine. But I think because of that, it's a good topic. And I also, as I'm talking, I'm like, oh, but like I love that non-monogamous people are doing that, because it also recognizes that there's not an entitlement to sex just because you're married, or like there's options, right?
Well, and outsourcing your needs being met, whether that's somebody that you just like to go and have a drink with and laugh with, as opposed to somebody that can get really deep on whatever you nerd out on, as opposed to like all the different ways. Because I think it's really dangerous when you try to just get all of your needs met by one person. And so, yeah, this is a way to sort of diversify that.
Yeah, and I also think it's a way to help you continue to work on your craft as learning how to relate with people, because it gives you the opportunity to have to show up and be authentic and hope be able to and learn how to, first of all, you get to learn what you need and what you don't outside of your relationship, out of your primary relationship, and you get to just like really just kind of like learn how to, I guess, operate and work with other people in a relationship in a romantic kind of way, which helps your relationship at the end of it, I believe.
Yeah, I think that the entitlement mindset that people have, like particularly men in our culture, is rooted in monogamy, right? It's 100% rooted in this idea that like my wife has to give me sex, right? Because that's who I'm supposed to be getting it from. And then the person who feels obligated to have the sex is also rooted in monogamy, because they're like, well, if I don't give it to this partner, they're going to go and find it somewhere else. So it's rooted in this idea of there's just one person that you're supposed to be having intimacy with, right?
Yes, I definitely within our culture that yes, I think that is the thing that we have. That's definitely standard operating procedure.
And but Mo, you were really careful to say this doesn't just go one way. I mean, I do think it is more prevalent as the male being the one who feels entitled, but I do know that it goes both ways. And you were also careful to say, what are the underlying reasons that this would be happening? Like, why is it that someone might not want to be engaged?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I've certainly met women who um very rejection sensitive around their partner not giving them sex, um because we do have a lot of conflating of that, right, in our culture, that sex equals
Fill in the blank.
yeah, or if we're not having it, there's something wrong, my partner doesn't love me, I'm undesirable. And so entitlement's built into that, don't you all think?
Yeah, but the flips, not yes, but yes, and the flip side that we talked about was the obligation part, because it's equally as stressful. It's equally as
Mhm.
stressful to be on either side of that, to feel like, oh, I'm letting my partner down, or it feels hard to say no all the time, because we had a long discussion at the end of it around saying no and saying no to being okay, but rejection is hard. So it gets really, there are a lot of pieces to this.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I guess if we include even another side of, and Mo, this is something that I found really helpful that you talked about in a lot of our consultations and supervisions was, you know, also this, I guess this is, I know we're talking specifically about obligation and entitlement and whatnot, but kind of pinning that, talking about the experience of the person who may be feeling, you know, who is asking for sex and intimacy, and whether or not there's like this underlying of obligation and entitlement. I mean, just opening up the conversation for what that person's experience is, especially if they're in a monogamous relationship, and what it's like for them, for their sexual needs not to be met in their relationship, and what is the dance between, you know, needs getting met and making sure, I guess that, or not making sure, but yeah, between needs getting met and, you know, a healthy meeting of those needs and this experience that comes up of an often unspoken obligation and entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. Sorry, go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, no, and I thought about that, and to no fault of anyone else, to no fault to anyone's in a monogamous relationship, but you know, not yeah, no fault to anyone in a monogamous relationship. At the same time, no one agreed in it, coming into the relationship that they want that either one of them wanted to be in a sexless relationship. So that's a tough one, because what do you do when the sex is taken off the table within the monogamous relationship? Like,
Well,
it's tough.
sorry. Go ahead. But actually, we don't know, and that's part of what we talked about earlier. You don't typically, you don't know what people were expecting. You know, maybe someone didn't think there was. We don't know that their expectations were matched.
Right,
And
right.
it's worth having those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you didn't do it ahead of time, then you do it now.
Yeah, I think I was probably speaking more to like if when two people come into a relationship and it's sexual, right? They're both coming into a relationship and it's a sexual relationship, and then a year within a relationship, year and a half, then the sex is taken off the table for whatever reason. But we're both expected to be still be monogamous. It's a tough, you know, like you're asking somebody to do something that wasn't a part of the original agreement coming into the relationship.
Oh, well, that's okay. So this brings up a good point, and I kind of want to, I would love to rewind to something that Kelly mentioned. So expectation, whether it was expected or not, right? Because even if you like did all the front loading and you talked about all that, still life happens, still things
Right.
happen and things change. Therefore, you know, we need to know how to respond to it. So I think the question that Kelly asked was, why does this happen? Like, how does this happen?
What's
I
going
think
on?
yeah, what's going on? What are some of the common, I guess, reasons that this is happening in a relationship? Where,
Yeah.
what do we want to call this? Because is it like sex isn't happening, or sex and intimacy?
Well, just a drop in sex. Like
Right.
it's a, and whether that's intimacy or not is debatable. Like you can not be having sex but still be very intimate with
Right.
someone. And you know, I
Mhm.
think Mo brought something up earlier about it being this is partially biological, partially it's just life.
Mhm.
There are a bazillion reasons that it could be, but I think it's just the understanding, because if not, you can have people feeling really guilty or people feeling really um rejected, and really big things that over time take a toll on the relationship. And they're kind of scary things to talk about. I mean, how many times do people come to us and say, oh well, we have you know, our regular therapist, we're coming to you so we can talk about the sexual
Mhm.
needs. It's just not out there, and that's partially why we're out here talking about this, right?
Yeah.
um so yeah, it is good, I think, Melissa, to talk about why is this happening. Well, not why, but what is the reason? Like, what are the components of what's happening here? And I don't definitely there are going to be some commonalities, but I think it's going to be different. So you got to just explore it with each person and their narrative and their traumas or their, you know, whatever they're bringing to the table.
Well, actually, Kelly, wow, I think you said something even more profound that I'd like to kind of emphasize is that, I mean, because I guess we could kind of go through a list of common reasons right now, but the biggest takeaway that I got from it was there could be there's a bajillion potential reasons as to why the sex and intimacy changed in the relationship. First of all, that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay, and that's valid, and it's common, and you're not alone. And I think a lot of people you know, they feel it because there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of fill in the blank of the emotions that they're feeling around it. And sometimes they can feel like they're alone in it, you know? I mean, even if they know that they're not alone in it, it's not easy to talk to about, you know, so we don't openly talk about these things. And so they can really feel isolated in this experience. So it's okay, whatever the reasons are. I think, like you said, the important thing is that we address it, we talk about it, we bring it to the light, you know?
Yeah. We don't let it fester and be
Don't
the
let it fester. Yeah.
Yeah. Long, I think the phrase that I use with all of my clients is like long periods of no intimacy is common in relationships. That's why you're here. But there's ways that we can, you know, talk about it and help make it better. But it's normal, you know. It's like one of the first things I do is normalize the dry spells
Mhm.
as not dry, just normal, ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow. Yeah. Um,
I always say we're not robots. You can't just turn on a switch.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
mean,
we
what
can.
do you tell about this oh, were you about to say something, Melissa?
well, you kind of already started, so go ahead. I'll let you finish.
This is kind of taken in a different direction. So
Oh, okay. Well, really quickly. Well, you just posted about something, sent a message to us talking about imposter syndrome. And I kind of think this is parallels that conversation, you know, about imposter syndrome. It's
Interesting.
literally the same exact thing, you know, and we could really copy and paste a lot of the issues that we talk about in here with that thing is recognizing, you know, kind of recognizing the systemic like impact here and what are we comparing ourselves to and like where are we getting this like idea that sex and intimacy have to look this way in our relationship. And so similar to imposter syndrome, it's like, oh, maybe I guess maybe it's not really that you know, I have imposter syndrome. Maybe it's just that, yeah, these expectations, I have not yet kind of reflected on these expectations that I have and where they came from and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah.
I said a very similar thing about mismatched libido. You know, this really overlaps with mismatched libido as well.
And
So,
erectile dysfunction and everything, right?
Yeah.
so what is the? I mean, okay, so we're all saying that these things either have a common denominator or under the same umbrella, however you want to look at it. So what is the root of it all? What if we?
Yeah, what
What,
are we really saying at the end of the day?
yeah, what
Yeah.
is the root of it all?
Yeah. I think that Melissa kind of touched on it. It's just, I think that it goes back to what we actually what we touched on as well earlier today, talking earlier. I think it's goes back to culture and society and you know expectations and it's how we're supposed to show up in these relationships and so then when we're not showing up in these ways, I think we feel that's when the shame and guilt comes in because we feel like we're falling short, that we're not enough, we're not, you know, all these things, right? And you know, so I think that's a big part of it, you know, just the shame and the guilt that comes along with not being able to fulfill needs or not getting needs met within a relationship, a primary relationship.
So what's the actual name? Can we actually name that?
Okay,
Is
hold
it
on. Hold on,
But but
hold on.
but but back up because those expectations can kind of, if we're talking about entitlement, like they're coming from messages, right? They're coming from messages that we need to, that we're supposed to,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, so we're sort of being robbed of our agency because of these socially constructed norms.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that kind of it?
what did you say, Kelly?
That we're robbed of our agency because we're trying
Yes.
to perform within socially constructed norms. And what we're saying is those socially constructed norms really aren't they
Aren't
aren't
serving
common.
us.
They aren't true. They aren't real. We just live
Yeah.
because it's so taboo or so stigmatized that we do believe there's something innately wrong with us or with
Yeah.
our relationship or whatever because of these norms that we're trying to live within.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that
Yes.
I
So
think so. Yeah.
deconstructing our own norms. Yeah.
yeah.
Societal norms.
being able to be an individual and
Yeah.
it being okay.
Yeah.
And however that intersects with the rest of the world, with our relationships with the rest of life, that being an okay place to be.
And that's even a conversation that I tend to have sometimes with clients. I just ask them, do they understand how influenced they actually are? You know, with all the things that are around them, all the things that they consume, may it be through social media, through peers, through family upbringing. Like, do they really understand how influenced that they are? And that is there are the way they is the way they believe actually the way that they believe, and not someone else's belief that is,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
put upon them.
Well, it just makes me think, and Mo, you said it in your post recently, and I think it's important to say it. And I know it's a buzzword, but you know, naming, I think in speaking to naming it, it's decolonizing work, right?
Yeah.
It's like we can call it deconstructing or decolonizing or whatnot, but yes, deconstructing, decolonizing from these oppressive systemic impacts
I agree. Yes.
that have
Yes.
been just so forever for a long time, just automatic, autopilot. And we're now saying like, no, like you said, Kelly, no, we get to have agency over ourselves, our bodies, our relationships.
Yeah.
It's a
And
difficult thing to push back on. Oh, go ahead, Mo.
yeah, there's a huge shift. I think we're moving away from it. Like, I think, you know, there's the Me Too movement, there's Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of people trying to mobilize against messaging, right? A lot of that's happening now, which is good. But I think outside of the activism, it's funny, I did a TikTok on this too. Outside of that activism, we're like those traditional, whether it be gender roles, the systemic generational trauma, like the stories around male entitlement, like those are still extremely prevalent in our society. Like, I don't know if it's because we're mental health professionals and we live in this space where we're constantly like deconstructing, but like when I'm not in these spaces, I'm sometimes like bowled over at like what's really happening out there in the world. And I'm like, I sometimes feel like throwing my hands up and being like, I don't think I'm ever going to make any sort of impact in any sort of way. I know that's not true, but I think that it's
Yeah.
it's like we take so many steps forward, it feels like, but then like also we're constantly taking steps backwards. And like anytime there's like violence against a trans woman, I'm like, you know, or gun violence in our country. Like, I know I'm getting a little bit derailed here, but like I feel like they all come from the same antiquated mindset.
And what is that fear of other? Like, and we are getting a little off topic, but I'm okay with it because I'm all for the social justice piece. So, like, what is it about? Is it the fear of other? Because if we do look at a broader scale and what's happening societally, you know, what we started today's topic with is that same sort of fear, but just within the relationship, right? Or am I getting too?
No. I think you got it. And I was gonna say, me and Melissa have been talking about this recently, and I think that again, so when we talk about the system when it's all about the system that we live in, an oppressive system, I think that the system in itself is just pushing back because people are not wanting their autonomy, they're wanting their agency, they people don't want to have to be right a certain way. They want to just be able to be themselves, and the system in itself is just pushing back, even with the algorithms, right? You see that there's some great people out here doing a lot of great work, us for instance, right? And so, but what is the traction that we get on all social media platforms? But then you have somebody out there, so they have this whole red pill movement. These people get all kind of traction. They got millions of followers. They got they're influencers. They got hundreds of thousands of people listening to them, you know, and they are literally helping to perpetuate the system that exists, right? But they get all the traction, all the notoriety, and so it just goes to show, like, yeah, it is a battle. It's an uphill battle, you know, and it feels like sometimes it feels like a daunting battle at that. But I think that from what I've seen in the work that we're doing, I love when people come to me and and I can see that I've been helpful to them, or they like, oh my gosh, like they even said like you've been so helpful to us, and so that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like what we're doing is on the path, to what we want. But yeah, it is tough because of what the pushback I believe is against well, like we talked about earlier, about just the oppression, just pushing back because they don't want to not be.
Doesn't want to change. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and
It-
I think the same way that we're talking about autonomy, and choice in these particular ways, I think it's true for how we do activism work as well too. And I think it all matters, and sometimes it can feel like our part or what we're doing isn't really doing much or not. But I am really a firm believer in these very personal and these very micro personal ways of contributing to the activism work, in our own personal lives. And so kind of circling it back around to the topic at hand, we were talking about obligation and entitlement and sex, was like, this is an opportunity to talk about it in our own relationships of how do we perpetuate these really bigger systems of oppression and concepts of oppression, things like that, in our own lives, in our own bedrooms with each other, and asking ourselves those questions. And that's a big deal. That's not a little bit of work.
that makes me want to like go smoke 10 cigarettes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, but to be kind and easy on ourselves about it too, right? Because we are part of that systemic oppression. Like, it's not so much to be like, oh, you got to do the work and you got to make the changes and all these things, but like with compassion, with grace, not to like, not to cancel this out, not to, blame each other and whatever, like all of us, everybody. And so it's just taking that little baby extra step of asking the question or having the conversation or whatever. So I don't care, lighting a candle, however you decide to do it, however you decide to do it. But I just think that very intentional, like, I'm going to do this,
So for anybody because those are some really great interventions. I'll be them small. It was small. They were small, but they're great because they are steps in that direction. So for someone who's listening, if you're saying if they are, I don't know, how could you make that applicable to somebody who's listening right now, who's dealing with
somebody who's
sex or
not wanting to have sex with their partner, but feeling guilty.
or on the other side.
Sure. I have one idea. I mean, I'll be transparent, pulling from my personal experience. That's the best work that I give, is pulling from my personal experiences. So, and in hindsight, what I can say is conversations like this between Wayne and I went on for years, went on for a really long time, and in hindsight, I think it was hard because nobody wants to be the bad person. Nobody wants to hurt their partner. I see that everybody, not everybody, but people generally have good intentions or whatnot, or neutral intentions or whatever. So one small thing that I think was helpful and that could be helpful to people is to find some type of third party way to have these hard discussions or conversations, whether that's going to therapy or buying a game that has these questions, that maybe you can, that the game asks as kind of a third party, that might be hard to bring up with each other, or that we just don't even think about bringing up because we're just in our bubble or whatnot, and it can be light and you can do it with friends. You don't have to do it alone and be all blamey on each other and whatnot. So, and you can see doing with other friends too, that, you're not alone in it, and it's a human experience. So I think that's a small one practical way to do it, is to like find some questions online, join a group, I don't know, to kind of start to reflect on these questions and experiences for yourself.
And to be able to have the hard conversations,
right?
Start having the hard, because what you're saying, Melissa, is like what I think so many people experience is they don't want to hurt their partner. but they also want to make sure they're getting their needs met and not harming themselves. And I think that's where people get caught up and tripped up. It's like, well, if I don't do this thing for my partner, and we were talking about sex, so it
Right.
could be sex. If I don't have sex with my partner, they're going to do all of these, so it's like you're caught between how do I show up for my partner and also take care of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's why maybe some people, it's hard to show it, to want to do that work, to want to have the hard conversations and ask the hard questions and whatnot, because, again, when we don't want to be the bad person or whatnot, but I think what people don't realize is there's some good stuff here for you. I mean, even just the awareness. I mean, I relate this back to when I started researching about ADHD and things like that. Like just the simple relatability that I was receiving from listening to people's stories or listening to these podcasts, the awareness that it brought and a deeper understanding of like, oh shoot, it's not me. I'm not broken. Oh, look at who's doing rockets. Who's doing rocket ships? Is that you, Mo? How'd you do that?
Sorry, I didn't
going.
mean to interrupt
like
you,
Do
Melissa.
that.
I like what you're on. Keep talking, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm just being funny. That was it. No, that like that there's some goodness in here for everybody. I think they'll be surprised to hear that like this is not about holding you accountable to the fire and all this stuff. It's really about like relatability. What's the word I'm looking for? Not forgiveness, but
Compassion, maybe.
passion, yeah, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
What came up for me is that what you kind of sum it up, and I think that this was both of you were saying was that having those really uncomfortable conversations having those really uncomfortable conversations create some of the healthiest relationships. And people don't even understand that, right? If they could understand that part, just having those very uncomfortable conversations, you get to create a much healthier relationship between the two parties that's having the conversations.
yes. And what I
And
was saying was that and it doesn't have to necessarily jump to like the pressure of have to do these things and change in these ways and make all of these changes in your life. That can be big, that can be scary. I think just the conversation alone can bring some relief and some awareness. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, the conversations are powerful. And like I always tell my clients this, like having the uncomfortable conversation, it doesn't mean you're solving a problem. It doesn't mean that you're even coming up with any solution. You might not even be fully present to hear what's happening. It's just the act of like movement, it's
And the acknowledgement, right? And we're no longer like sweeping this under the rug and pretending that it's not cute. And sometimes that is that is the violence sometimes, you know what I mean? Of not acknowledging.
yes.
You know how it can feel in your body to like know or think or have a feeling that something is happening in your relationship, but
Can't talk
but
about it.
can't talk about it, it's not being acknowledged, and so you think that you're crazy or you think that you're wrong or or all of these things. The simple acknowledgement can bring so much relief.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I also to add to that, I tell my clients that even having a conversation doesn't mean that it needs to be actionable action made. So you don't have to, your body doesn't have to feel this fear of, oh, what's about to happen. It's a conversation that we're having.
It's just a conversation. I say that all the time. Yeah, it's just a conversation.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Mo, how you'll bring up. Oh wait, what does our guest, our host want to say?
Do you have something
Hi.
to say?
She's like, high five, Mo. You're always right.
You know how you'll bring up there the sort of like being a hostage, like because let's say
Mhm.
you do feel that you're monogamous, but it does feel sexless right now. Like there's this whole other piece of I don't even know where I'm going with that, honestly.
Well, the hostage piece comes when one partner is like, my needs aren't getting met. We're in a monogamous situation and you don't want to have sex. And I'm not asking you to have sex, but I would like to go explore outside of the relationship. And then the other partner says, no, I want to stay monogamous. And you also can't have sex with anyone else. That's the hostage piece, right? It's
Right.
like you know, it's specific to those conversations, though, I think, where one person is asking, like, help me. Like, you know, I really wanna, I don't wanna spend my, you know, years, my prime years or whatever, not having sex. I wanna connect. I wanna connect with you, but if you're not available, you know, the best thing for me is, and then the monogamous partner says no. It's an ultimatum. It's like black or white.
It's
Nope.
very threatening to them. That's threatening.
Yes,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
yes,
And so that's when I have the conversation. Well, if you're going to hold someone to a monogamous standard, but you're also going to not want to engage with them sex, you know, like, and we can talk about sex entitlement in that conversation. Is there some of that? But the person is literally seeking sex somewhere else and asking their partner, can I do this? And the partner's saying no.
right. We can say no for ourselves and our body, but then it's a whole nother conversation when we're saying no to them, or saying like trolling if they can have sex or not, or you know, so
Yeah.
Right. Which goes to the whole conversation about even masturbation, right? Because
right.
because all of that, it's all the same, right? Because you can say no, that I don't want you to masturbate. So then you're still trying to have some sense of control over someone else's body.
Right.
The same way you don't want them to have control over your body, but you're
Right.
now wanting control over their body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and I acknowledge it's scary. It's a scary conversation to have. And you know, it's scary. It can be a tough concept to consider. Mo, one time I remember you said something so profound too in another consultation of like, there's an answer out there, or there's a potential solution out there, right? There's like infinite solutions, potential solutions. And if we're feeling like we've hit a wall and there's nothing out there for us, then okay, maybe you didn't say all of this, but now what I'm adding is
But you
like,
picked up from it. Yeah.
yeah, what I'm picked up from it is like maybe then rewinding and like what's keeping us from trying to find some kind of solution or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are the fears, what are the blocks, what are the concerns that are kind of keeping us from finding some solution? Not to say that the solution is going to be 100% great for everybody, but there's something out there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because the relationship has already changed. Relationship is already scary. You know, these things are already happening. So
Yeah.
so what is holding it?
Yes, 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 yes. Like this, you're not talking to each other. There's an elephant in the room. Like, that's not a way to live, right? Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to have a scary conversation. The doors are going to fly open, and now you're going to, you know, have some fun and some
Yeah.
adventure and excitement and have more in-depth conversations about your feelings. Like, is that what's going to happen? That sounds exciting.
Yes. Yes.
Scary, but exciting, right? And it's what is the saying? It's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And-
devil
and-
you know is safer than the heaven you do know. Something like that. It's something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And we get it. Change is scary because it's all the unknowns that come with change. And I
Yeah.
and I think that again, I've learned from all three of you as well, just to like, you know, to lean into the change because it can be so, you know, so what is the word I'm looking for?
Rewarding?
Transformative.
That's it right there. Thank you. Transformative. Yes. Because it can be so transformative. Yes.
Yeah, but people don't know that until they try it. And like all of us have tried different things when something's not working. We've been forced to try new things. And you know, you learn by that process. Like only when I did something that was totally scary and outside of my comfort zone did I experience relief.
Yes.
And interestingly, sometimes that scary and outside comfort zone is like, what I want to say, speaking to systems of oppression, like is saying no for ourselves. And what I mean by that is like having the conversation of, if we're talking about somebody in a relationship of like ending the relationship. I don't think we talk about that option enough as well either, right? And so that's scary. And we've kind of been, yeah, it's also kind of just the comments for to just keep going and keep going into a relationship. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's okay to let that go, to change in that way and say no, like this is just not working out for us fundamentally. We're just
Mhm.
we need different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say that, it came to me is that the system works so well
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
that we shut ourselves down. That we deny
It
ourselves.
scares us. I think it just scares us enough that a lot of people back down.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it a lot. I mean, I've pushed back a lot of
We
my
all, I think that we all do it. We get to a certain point though where we can't do it anymore. And that's when we're like, okay.
pressing on your bones. That's what my clients, they're like, I'm like, when it presses on your bones enough, it's going to come out.
Yeah. It is a somatic thing 100%. Like I tell this to my clients too, like you will literally wake up one day and your body will say, I can't do this anymore.
That's it. I'm at the end of the line.
Oof. Now I gotta go smoke 10 cigarettes, Mo.
Look, I've got a client in a minute. I love y'all. I'm gonna let y'all wrap it up.
Well, this was really good, and we can just wrap it up right now. Very insightful. I love having these conversations with you all. You all are so deep.
Yeah. I love these conversations as well. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I feel seen.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of people who listen. I've been told that, I have friends and stuff who listen. So, send us feedback. Let us know if you have any questions or feedback, like let us know.
Topics.
We want to hear your comments.
I don't even know. Listen, I've never listened to one of them. I just come in here and yap.
Who are you again? What's your name? She's a no-named the no-named co-host.
Well,
have a great session. Wow.
All right. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Mo.
Do you want me to send this to
yes,
your son? Okay. He's not the one that went to college.
No,
he didn't leave.
Okay, he's still home. All right, good. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
All right.
She's saying bye.
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 Bye. Aw. It's good to see you. I'll see you later.
Hey.
Yeah, she did it.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.